to the first annual Maine Stand Awards show. It's gonna only be Premier League because we're fucking lazy. We got some fun awards for y'all. We got the regular ones, we got the not regular ones, we got a couple of fun ones in there, and then some other little cool ones. We can kick things right off. We'll get the easy ones out of the way, and then we'll kind of tuck into the different, more fun ones. We'll do like round robin. Everybody gives their player of the year if there's any, or we're starting with player of the year, but everybody will give like their winner of the award. A little bit of discussion if there needs to be some, and if not, we'll just kind of mosey on through. So we'll start with your Premier League player of the year. I've been raving about this guy. I've said he's my pick for a while. I'm going with Alisson. I think he's the only reason Liverpool were as close to City as they were in the stretch. I think Salah was really important at the beginning of the season. We look at 38 games, and I think Alisson Becker has absolutely been Liverpool's most instrumental player. I don't think there's one player that stood out for City so highly that I can call him player of the year. The only one would be De Bruyne, but he's been big the last 16. It's similar to the reason why I'm not picking Salah. Salah was really hot in the beginning, kind of fell off form. De Bruyne was injured, didn't play as much for City in the beginning of the season, picked up form down the stretch when it mattered. But I think if we look at consistency and what a player did over the course of 38 games, I think Alisson has been the player of the year.
I thought this was going to be cut and dry from you, Pat. I thought you were going Kevin De Bruyne all the way. I was not expecting Alisson to be taken.
I think it's Alisson. I think Alisson's the player of the year this year.
I appreciate that pick, and I support it. I have my player of the year as Mo Salah. I agree with what you said. His form definitely dropped. You can't argue that, but at the same time, to be at the top of the goal scoring list and the top of the assist list at the end of the season, I think that averages out to player of the year for me still.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough shout.
Yeah. Mitch?
For the same reason, Josh, I took Mo. I just think what he does for the club, both on and off the pitch, and what he has provided to the side, even when he is not producing just goals. I think the player of the year goes far beyond just goals and assists. I think it goes to somebody who really builds a team to do something better, and I think Mo Salah really kind of brings that aura with him.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not arsed about any of the picks we took there. Young player of the season next?
Yeah, young player of the year. I have Bukayo Saka as my young player of the year. I think if you look at this really young, exciting Arsenal core, Saka really stands out, and he really stood out this season. He kind of took that penalty miss in the Euro and improved on it. I think he's been really good for Arsenal all year. I just think there's not a player in his age bracket you can put in his position that would do as well as he did this season. I believe he had 14 GA for that Arsenal team. I thought he was great. I think he's only going to improve. I rate him really highly. I think it's like 1A and 1B is him and Trent. I think Foden kind of slides into the debate, but I don't think Foden has been phenomenal this season just because he's been played, in so many different positions. He hasn't really had an opportunity to shine where I think he plays the best on the left. He's been kind of used as a false nine a lot. And while I don't think he's done a bad job, he hasn't been young player of the year material for me.
Is Trent eligible? Is he too old?
I think he's the exact cutoff age. This is the last year he can be young player of the year.
For me, after you win young player of the year once, I feel like you should just be eliminated.
I mean, yeah, I agree. But
do you think Foden winning it in real life was a little weird?
I think that those awards, so those ones are fan voted, and then captain of each club voted, I believe, is how that goes. So a little strange, but I guess I can see it. To me, he's been the third best youngster in the league. So I don't know. It's kind of a toss up in the air. I don't think he deserved it personally. Clearly, you can see who I just gave my vote to.
Yeah. Mitch, do you have a different one?
I had Trent just based on his production throughout the year and the improvement that he put on. year over year. I think he's just been instrumental to our success throughout this season. But I guess my runner-up would be Connor Gallagher, just because of the work
Good
ethic,
shout.
the week in, week out grittiness that he gave Crystal Palace was phenomenal. He just shows a willingness to work, and he wants to win the ball and do it consistently. And I think he's a phenomenal young player.
Yeah,
I feel like my only issue with him, and not knocking him, is he like his production. It feels like he fell off like just a tad. In the last 15 or so games of the season.
For sure, but I just think just as a day in day out player, somebody that's at the club just deserved that. Just
very good.
Kind of leading by example.
Mm-hmm. I actually had Connor Gallagher as my out and out winner here. I thought he really changed that Palace side. I think that FA Cup semifinal against Chelsea is a different game with him in it. And it's definitely a little bit scary that he's going back to Chelsea. I think he is a very, very creative young midfielder, and form dips and stuff. Bakayos form dipped as well with Arsenal. There's games where he's inconsistent and doesn't really touch the ball. But yeah, Connor's been magnificent, and he's done really well under Vieira as well. Almost makes you think that he would be a better fit kind of elsewhere. I don't know how he really fits in at Chelsea, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Tuchel uses him next year, if he uses him at all, or they don't just sell him.
He'd be an expensive player, being an English creative midfielder. I don't know many teams could afford him.
Truth. So I guess next up we got team of the season. Fellas, how do you want to do this? You want to go position by position and give our picks in each position, or do we want to just give round table 11 names at a time?
I say we go position by position.
All right, cool. Starting off in goal, I think this one is there's a consensus
clear
here.
Yeah.
Allison
Becker.
All right,
the
cool.
Barbecue
Moving on.
Beast.
Left back.
Cancelo.
Definitely. Nice, 2 for 2. Center backs.
Virgil and Matip for me.
I had the same pairing as well.
As did I.
Yeah, the one thing about Matip, just to shout, because people will be in our comments, leaving people out. We won't mention names, but Matip has been. I think this is his first real season without a major injury. He has been arguably as good as Virgil this season.
I think he's been great.
Impeccable.
Really, yeah. I think your back four has done a lot. Like games where your forward line faltered, and I think your back four did a lot of heavy lifting for you guys this year. Yeah. All things considered, in a lot of different games, the bigger games, I should say. I think your forwards got it done in the games where you're expected to win. I think your back four kept you in a lot of games.
I love those little runs Matip makes, just floating.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, find another center back that does that.
Right back.
Trent.
Cool. Midfield 3. Do you want to just...
Yeah, do 3 at a time.
Sure. I've got Rodri, Bernardo, and De Bruyne.
Okay. I have KDB, Silva, and Fabinho. But Rodri is a fine shout. For me, I think the two are pretty interchangeable. Rodri scored some really big goals at the end of the season, so I think there's a little bit of recency. I think Fabinho's had a really good year, and you remember that stretch in January, February, he scored 8 goals. So I think either or.
I've been banging my Rodri drum all year. I think he's the best defensive midfielder in the world.
I also had Rodri, Fabinho, and Bernardo Silva.
Rocking the double pivot, Mitch.
Yeah, you got a double pivot back there.
Yes,
no, De Bruyne is interesting, but I can see why you would put Bernardo in, just because he's been a mainstay, the entire season.
He's I think been your most consistent player aside from yes, De Bruyne had a very slow start to the year, but I think Bernardo is the next best under the captain in that leading the midfield by example. Mm-hmm. He's been immense all year.
Honorable mentions for the midfield. Declan Rice, Thiago.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Thiago had a really good year. I think his results were a little bit skewed, maybe more towards the Champions League. But another really good shot. I don't think he was quite as good as Bernardo, but forwards.
I'll take that. Front 3. I have an interesting one.
I
think
do
I have
too,
an
and
interesting
it's not really like an exact like position by position. I just took the best 3 attackers.
Same. Yeah, because there's no striker that really stood out to me this year, despite Ronaldo's 18 goals.
Yep.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
All right,
I have Salah, Mane, and Heung-min Son.
Okay, so we have 2 of the 3 same. I have Salah, Son, and Jared Bowen.
Ooh, that's a cheeky.
That's
cheeky entry.
12 goals, 10 assists in a West Ham team that he really is like that dude going forward. Got him into a European place, gets up for the big games. I rate Jared Bowen very, very highly. I think he had an unbelievable season. I think there's a reason that he got a Player of the Year nomination, in real time. I think he's been outstanding. I think any player that hits a double-double, in the Premier League like that deserves some praise. And I think overall performance-wise, I think he's been, in order. I think Salah, Son, 1A, 1B for best forward in the league this year. And then you look at Jared Bowen, I think he's been a really convincing second best overall forward across the entire span of the league.
My front 3, I had Son, Mane, and Salah, just from the amount of time that Mane spent transitioning into that 9 role and how well he did it. I thought was deserving enough of being thrown in that front 3 over your Jared Bowen argument.
I mean, that's fine. I'm not going to complain about that. Manager.
Klopp.
Guardiola.
I have Klopp as well.
How can you pick the guy that came in second?
How can I pick the guy that came in second? I can pick the guy that came in second because we were 14 points behind in January.
3 games in hand, though. We're really 14 points behind.
Yes, absolutely.
You had 3 games in hand. You had played 3 less games.
So we win all those. It's still 2 points.
5. It's 5 points.
5 points. Sorry. Math is off. So I don't think the games in hand are relevant in the context of being that far behind in a season with so many questions, with City very, by and large, the favorites to win it.
Right.
Near Boxing Day, to fight through all of the games and competitions we have.
Mm-hmm. But this is the Premier League, so those don't matter.
They do matter when
you're Premier League.
They do matter in the context of the Premier League. They do matter because you're still picking up injuries. You're still having things happen outside of the Premier League that affect the play within the game.
I don't think Klopp can be the manager of the year. I think the guy who wins it for the second year in a row with no striker, with how many Liverpool players did we all just put in our team of the season?
I can't wait.
So you have all of these individually brilliant players. You have all of these individually brilliant players. You have 8 of the best players in the league individually.
Were they regarded
How are you not winning the league?
Were they regarded like that 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
This is this year. Why are we talking about 4 years ago? We're talking about this season. Guardiola just won the Premier League with no recognized striker, regularly starting with 3 youth players on the bench because we have the smallest senior squad in the league. And he just beat this Liverpool juggernaut, apparently, with 8 of the best players in the league in their starting 11. How is he not the reason we won the league then? What is?
I think it's between Jurgen and Pep for this, just to get my side, because my argument's a little bit different.
You haven't talked, Josh.
My argument is a little bit different than Mitch's. I think you have to look at the gap Klopp made up this year. From where Liverpool finished last season. Obviously, a side decimated by injuries, they were always going to get more points, but to take them back to that level just in a couple months, I think is really impressive from Klopp. And I just kind of applaud his man management this season to be able to make the most of that squad and be able to throw people on like Takumi Minamino, Costas Tsimikas, and have them make a difference and really want to play for him week in, week out when they're not getting consistent game time. Not that Guardiola doesn't do that, the likes of Nathan Ake and those guys. I just think that's been really impressive from Klopp, and a couple of his halftime adjustments this year have been really, really good. You look at Arsenal away, some of those really big results where he put people on at halftime, completely changed the tactics around, were really, really impressive games where he really kind of earned his corn, per se. So that's why I take Klopp, but Guardiola is still a fine shout for me.
Yes.
Won the league.
I mean, I think Klopp's a great manager too. Don't get it twisted. I don't think if you have all of these great players and you don't win the league, how can you be considered the best manager? I guess is my only like conflicting thought on Klopp being the best. I think if you want to talk about like making up a gap and a manager who, like drug someone out of the ashes, then why are we not talking about someone like Eddie Howe as manager of the year? Because that's as impressive. This Newcastle side that had won like one game in their first 15. Eddie Howe came in and they finished in 11th. Like
Frank Lampard even saving
Oh
Everton.
no! Just stop that! Stop that! Eddie Howe's fine, but that's like he's a blank checkbook manager. Eddie Howe, I think his talents will come to the forefront next season. I don't think Newcastle really rise to the top with Eddie Howe. His recruitment's a shambles.
Yeah, he doesn't. You don't recruit with Eddie Howe. He's a good coach. You have him coach the players. You get him a good sporting director, and Eddie Howe doesn't get to pick who he signs. You just give him people.
I don't find Eddie Howe's job overly. It was good, but I don't find it at the likes of Klopp and Guardiola. When you have a blank checkbook in the winter and you can sign a bunch of people, including the likes of Bruno, who's crazy good, it's not really that hard of a job to stay up when you're competing against the likes of Watford and Burnley. But, yeah, like you said, Pat, Guardiola's a fine shout.
Burnley got relegated. That's all that matters to me. They're gone.
Yes. I'm glad Leeds are staying up, too. Good for Jesse Marsh.
I agree. All right, next up on the list here, we have goal of the season. I had two because I couldn't really pick. So Bernardo versus Aston Villa, the volley at the end of the team move. But I actually think this next goal, this is not a shot at you guys either. I think this next goal was just a little better, and I'm a sucker for a volley. It's Kovacic versus Liverpool.
Ooh, that was a nice goal.
I think the tech on that volley was absurd, and ultimately, I think that just pips Bernardo for my goal of the year, because I think Bernardo's wasn't as clean of a contact. I think Kovacic, he just hit that thing so nicely.
So, yeah, that was a great goal. I think me and Mitch are going to have the same one here. What do you think,
Salah versus City.
I have the distinct feeling of that is the direction this is going, yeah.
Two players in the world can score that goal, Mo Salah and Lionel Messi. Just that little, flick he does with both feet to get by Bernardo Silva, and that ducking and diving just gives you shades of Tottenham at home in 2017.
Just through the team that is really the only thorn in our side right now, the biggest thorn in our side. I shouldn't say the only. To be able to do that through that City team was just beautiful, perfect execution. Flawless
and there were the scenes and limbs too after that goal were mental. Next one. We'll get into our surprise player of the year. So a player that either surprised you by doing good or bad. Who wants to start out this one?
I can.
Mitch's is going to be crazy, and I know it. Just the way he's smirking right
now. My surprise player of the year, I went the bad route. And I went with Jorginho. I thought the season that Jorginho had, piggybacking off of all of this Ballon d'Or talk and all of this high praise, it was lackluster. And I know we're focusing on the Premier League, but there's definitely more to it. I found that it was as about lackluster as you can get following a potential Ballon d'Or campaign.
He never should have been on that podium. Let's be real
No,
here.
he shouldn't.
That's a great
Let's
shout.
just be real here.
But he was, and that's why it's shocking.
Exactly. Nah, I think that's a good shout. I had Jadon Sancho. And not in the sense that I think Sancho's like a bad player. He didn't have a great season. I think he plays for a team that's kind of a mess. But the player he just isn't the same player that he was in Dortmund. And I think that was the thing that surprised me the most. I thought, like, coming to United and being in that side, like, maybe the production would drop a little because he's not going to be on the ball as much, because like guys like Fernandez want to be on the ball a little bit more. You've got guys like Ronaldo that are going to be demanding a lot of the attention of the ball. But like, most of the time when I watched Sancho this season, he like struggled to make an impact, and I didn't expect that out of him. So I think that's why Sancho's mind is he just like didn't. I expected him to be more like the player he was at Dortmund.
That's a good shout. I went the good route. I took James Ward-Prowse.
Hell yeah, James Ward-Beckham.
Yeah, well, so that's exactly why I took him. Because I feel like last summer the hype really started to build around him, and when you start to get those Beckham labels and everything, it's hard to live up to. And I think he's had a remarkable kind of like, obviously last year, not his freshman year in terms of like, because he's been at Southampton a little while now, but it was like his coming out party, and to have like a sophomore year basically where you keep raising the levels of your play, continue scoring goals, continue creating them, has a wonderful foot on set pieces. Don't know how he couldn't be involved in England in the near future. You really got to kind of tip your cap to that, because getting that Beckham label that early in your career at Southampton is not easy to live up to in a side that really isn't that creative offensively. Definitely was a reason Southampton were as high as they were in the table. I think without him, they'd be near the bottom.
I thought he was really good this year too. That's a really good shout for surprise player. We want to talk about who we thought was the biggest shithouse this year.
Yes.
Is there even a debate?
It's Richarlison, right? It's Richarlison.
I'll go Pickford.
I had my vote for Pickford. Just the most punchable face in the Premier League, bar none. I think Richarlison does it on a more consistent basis, but Pickford has more eyes on him when he's doing it.
Actually, sorry, I'm changing my pick mid awards show. Sorry, I'm doing a Kanye. I'm getting up on stage. I'm taking the award, and I'm giving it to Wilfried Zaha instead.
Wow,
because he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, though. Like he's not a shithouse in your regular sense, where like they're just winding players up and getting under their skin and doing like Diego Costa wiping boogers on him and shit like that. But Zaha knows what he's doing, dude. He knows when he's diving. He knows who he's running at. He knows the players that he can run at, draw a foul from, and get under their skin. Wilfried Zaha is a master at offensive shithousing, if that makes sense. He's so good at winding up the player that
he is
on the side that he is attacking. And that is why I think I'm going to give my vote to Wilfried Zaha, because he is like a master of the reverse dark arts as a winger. And I really respect what he brings to the table for Shithouse FC.
That's a good pick. Pickford's hard to disagree with, though. Just that little wink he did against Liverpool.
Sealed it.
Yeah.
Sealed it.
Can't top that.
Did you guys get an unsung hero, or are we gonna skip that? We have unsung hero. Cool. So my unsung hero was Fabian Schär for Newcastle.
Ooh, I like that.
I thought he was brilliant in those games where Newcastle kind of really picked up form in their it was like 14 game unbeaten, right? With the wins and the draws at the end of the season there. In those 14 games, I believe they kept 7 or 8 clean sheets, which isn't like a ton. It's not like, it's not 14 for 14, But Shar being at the heart of that Newcastle defense, being a set piece threat, being just like this imposing, commanding presence at the back of a Newcastle back line that really did the job to get them out of the relegation zone into like a place of supreme safety, and ultimately almost finished on the top half of the Premier League after a really messy end of the season. I don't think Shar got enough praise for how important he was to that Newcastle back four.
That's a good shout. Mitch?
This could go so many different ways. Could be so many different players. But I think I'm gonna go with Cucurella, honestly. What he did this season was very, very pertinent to the success of his side. And I think he grew as a player, like outside of the game too. Like a lot more eyes were drawn to him. His play style, his grittiness, and I think he really kind of epitomizes what it means to be just like a really grindy football player. Like I don't care about my size. I don't care about anything. I'm just gonna go out and play. I'm gonna beat the shit out of whoever I'm coming across. And I think Cucurella was phenomenal this year in that aspect.
We have 3 really good picks here from kind of mid-table sides. I went with Wolves, and my player's Jose Sa in goal.
Yep.
Very, very good goalie, and he had some of the best statistics in all of Europe's top 5 leagues in terms of save percentage. I think his save percentage was like 80%, which is nuts. And it's a really hard job to come in and replace Rui Patricio as he went to Roma. To come in and kind of maintain that label of Wolves having a good defense is a hard job. And he did it and was sound all season. I think saved Wolves a lot of points and was, along with, the rest of their defense, was a big, big reason Wolves were close to kind of those bottom European spots.
Yeah, no, I can get behind Jose Sa too. I think he's great. Final actual football related one, and then we can get into the final 3, which are a little bit more fun. Match of the season. I will go last because mine should be pretty obvious.
Oh yeah, fair. Mitch, do you?
Josh, what do you got? I went first.
I have Liverpool and City the first time around. The same, the goal where Salah kind of ran through everyone. I just thought that was a great game. 2 heavyweights punching each other in the face for 90 minutes.
My match of the year was actually City Tottenham. Not to be a shit house, but I think that match. But like looking back on the story of the season, that match made it possible it opened the door for Liverpool to come back and really make it a dogfight until the final day of the year. And then they did the same thing to us. We dropped points to Tottenham and it actually ends up costing us. So I think for the overall storyline of the year, City losing to Tottenham was massive.
To clarify,
it was an insane game too.
To clarify, which Tottenham?
Yeah, which loss? Yeah. Which was it the first game of the season?
No, it was the Kane stunner at the end of the game.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't pick the one with Tanganga fouling every.
Yes, sorry, my bad.
My match of the season was Manchester City 3, Aston Villa 2, last game of the season. Fucking limbs in the Willett household when that Gundogan goal went in. I get my brother into the sport. He stopped watching the Tottenham game to watch the last 15 minutes of the City game with me. Yeah, Chicken Ball FC is represented in the Willett household now. Ben's a Tottenham fan, loves Heung-min Son. But stopped watching Spurs murder Norwich to watch that game with me. And we both went fucking insane when that goal went in. It's, felt like another 93-20 with a little less drama because it wasn't the last kick of the game. Thought we were down and out. It's just everything about that game was fucking awesome. And it just epitomized what the season felt like for me. Just an absolute roller coaster. And it just has to be my game of the season.
Yeah. Which ones do we have left, boys? I have kind of one that's not on our list, but I thought of last minute. like a commemorative moment of the season. And my pick is Yarmolenko's goal against Aston Villa, right the weekend where Ukraine was invaded by Russia. Yeah. That's my moment of the season, so that's like a commemorative pick. Just to add.
Mine is in a similar vein. It was that moment after City won the title, and Zinchenko had the trophy in front of all the City fans, and he put the trophy down and he wrapped the Ukrainian flag around it, and the whole stadium just like erupted in support of Zinni. Similar thing, football coming together for the greater good, and Zinchenko's an absolute fucking warrior. He's one of my favorite players in the City side, so it was awesome to see our fan base really get behind him like they did the last day of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd probably say Eriksen's first goal coming back from his kind of near-death experience was pretty special. If you're just kind of a neutral football fan, just excited for him to
right.
live through that, come back and make a name for himself again.
Yeah, that was a great moment too. That was a very feel-good moment. Made me very happy.
And like the
some fun ones.
The other couple ones, like I thought of like the take of the year out of everything that we've uttered on this podcast throughout the year. What was your guys? And I'll open this up to the fans on Instagram. We'll throw a poll up too. What was your favorite take that somebody said this year that either panned out or was just absolute dog shit?
I'm going to fade the shit out of myself. I said Southampton were going to get relegated on the first episode. It didn't happen.
Oh, what? I'm trying
just
to find
Fiorentina because he was close enough where like I can't, like you can't, you know?
I had I'll take one of my own as well as being a bad one. What? I'm blanking on his first name. I think it's Emmanuel. I said Emmanuel Dennis was one of the best strikers in the Premier League based on his.
Hey yo!
Talk about someone who died off in the second half. He was in my team of the season. He was my striker.
He was your mid-season team of the season striker. Yeah, he disappeared. Man.
I didn't hear man's name in the second half of the season.
I'd probably say my take of the year was riding with the Everton relegation. Just
you wrote that till the wheels fell off.
Being ahead of the curve and then just like it dying out and Frank Lampard becoming manager of the season because he saved them just really broke my heart.
I liked Mitch. I think it was episode 3 this season, bringing up Arsenal as relegation candidates after 3 games.
Yep.
I liked that one a lot too.
Also the biggest Arsenal supporter, like just when you guys were talking shit about them bottling stuff, I always came to Arsenal's defense too. So.
Yep. After Peg being like, could they actually get relegated?
Could they? Could it happen?
Do we want to move on to the fun ones, boys?
Yeah, let's do some fun ones.
Top lad.
We got our top lads and our hairdryer or our donuts of the season. I think I have a great top lad. He's in football, but he's not really in football. My top lad of the season is Peter Drury.
Oh, that's a great shout.
Ooh.
Because for every his commentary this season, man, just felt unmatched, bro. There was never a big game I was watching where Peter Drury was commentating where I was unimpressed with the commentary. That man is a legend among Premier League commentators, and this season he just got some of the biggest moments too. And again, the City Villa is fresh in my mind, but his commentary, Gundogan's goal, that like speech he gave where he was like, "Out of the ashes," he just like you get chills listening to Peter Drury, and I thought he was just the best commentator in world football.
He's truly a poet.
Year. So he's my top lad.
With words. He's unreal.
Yeah, he's my top lad. He was incredible.
Go for it, Josh. Nope. Nope. You
I
started
actually have
talking
something a similar vein. You could call mine top lads. I have Kara and Neville. I thought they've raised the level of punditry. Usually I don't care too much about that, but I always find myself looking up on YouTube after big games to kind of hear their takes on stuff, and I really think they've just brought a kind of a new light to the sport. There's like a banter about them that's been really fun. I thought Neville's overlap program has been really good too. He does like deep dives with former players and stuff like that. So Kara
Damn,
and
just
Neville.
ignoring my dog Micah Richards.
Yeah, I like Micah too, but I only watch him with Champions League.
Yeah.
It's fair.
So my top lad, I would probably have to give to Ivan Toney for his lack of fucks given.
Self-awareness.
He really made a splash in his entrance into the Premier League, and I just respect the hell out of the fact of how much he just doesn't give a fuck about playing for Brentford FC.
Yeah. My boy was just getting after it, man. They said fuck Brentford.
He was just vibing
Brentford.
out. Yeah, he was just vibing out in his first year, and I commend that.
Mm. You have to commend it.
Dubai is basically Vegas for Europe, so
yeah, exactly.
And we'll switch to the other side here. Donut of the year in true Gordon Ramsay fashion.
You fucking donut.
Let me clip that sound. Tech team, get on that. Harry Maguire is my donut of the year, with just no explanation needed. Just a shambles.
You're right.
Fair. Pat, you got a good donut?
My donut's not that good. It's just more of like a fuck you to one of my least favorite clubs. I have to like them next season if the rumors are true, but this season I don't. Burnley are finally getting relegated. You're my donut. You sack Sean Dyche. You sack the man that saved you every single year. I don't like him very much either, but you sacked the guy that always saved you, and look what happened. You're getting relegated.
So my donut is Paul Tierney. Paul had an impeccable run of trying to take over games this year, and still doesn't have a solid relationship with VAR. So fuck you, Paul.
That's a great little bit of sound, Mitch. I cannot wait to put these three on a graphic in like a box of dozen donuts. It's gonna be great commentary for the Instagram.
Oh man,
he's a fucking.
I have another like thrown in award here. Like the VMAs does their Vanguard like music video like lifetime achievement award. My two kind of a duo lifetime unachievement award goes to retiree referees John Moss and Mike Dean.
We won't miss you.
Yes, we will not miss you. Goodbye. And
these are for you. These are for both of you.
My lover.